Hello and welcome. We are Control Alt Record, and from the team you have just myself and Brett tonight, but we do have a special guest joining us. We have Jared Hahn from Shadow Play Studios, who is here to talk to us about a game that he's working on called Projection, a shadow puppet adventure about light manipulation, curiosity, and lost art. As always, we'll have gaming stuff to talk about. If you do, of course, like the show, please jump onto iTunes and give us a rating and a review, or your alternative Google Play podcast application. Check out our other channels such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and you will find the links to those descriptions in this episode of the podcast. But that's it. Let's get into the show.
You're listening to Control Alt Record.
All right. So, Jared, thank you so much for joining us tonight for this episode. Really excited to have you on. So, Projection. What is this? What is Projection? Give us a very quick rundown of what it is.
It's a shadow puppet theater platformer where you take control of the projecting light to cast shadows, and you can platform along those shadows that you've cast.
So it's like a side-scrolling game. So look, we have actually caught up a couple of times now. So I've actually played your game, which is also why I wanted to bring you on, because I thought it was a very interesting game. So
thank you.
It definitely when I was down at the event, it was, I think for me, definitely a game that stood out as something that felt quite sort of, it's on its way to completion. Correct me if I'm wrong there, I guess. But
I hope it is.
It's definitely got a very interesting concept behind it. So, but look, what we will do is we want to really get into some meaty stuff of your game sort of in the episode as we go. But what we tend to like to do at the start of all of our episodes is go through a bit of sort of gaming news and gaming discussion. So happy and sort of glad that you're on to sort of go through that with us. But let's ask you a question. Like, what in the gaming world outside of what you're sort of working on, what are some of your big interests, and what do you like to keep an eye out for if you're into sort of any news articles or anything of the such that's gaming related?
So I tend to watch a lot of YouTube sort of summaries of what's going on. At the moment, there's a lot of dev stuff being talked about at the moment. You see with microtransactions and everything going on, there's a lot of that being talked about.
Interesting. You say microtransactions, because that was actually something that I've seen in a game that has recently come up. And being a developer of yourself, with yourself, I'd be really keen to get your perspective from the developer's side of the microtransaction sort of topic.
Is it the new Metal Gear Solid thing?
Oh, he's on the money. He's on the microtransaction. All right. That was a terrible one. So look, that was one of the things that I saw in recently that's come out with Metal Gear Survive, was with their sort of microtransaction sort of scheme that they've got going on. So I'll quickly, just for our listeners, go through that and what that is. So Metal Gear Survive is the new sort of spin-off from the Metal Gear Solid franchise, which was sorted out by Konami. But this doesn't have the original developer of Hideo Kojima with it. So he's, of course, left Konami for unknown reasons.
Create wondrous art elsewhere.
Yes, exactly. But the Metal Gear Survive is a game that is actually $39.99 US, which you can get off, I guess, Steam, I think is probably the main one, or if you're on the console, whichever store you want to go to. But one of the big things that I think a few people have jumped up and down about is the microtransaction of save slots. So you get 4 save slots in the game for multiple different avatars, but the base game comes with 1. You actually have to use SV points, which I believe is probably going to stand for survive, I guess, to actually unlock the others. Do you know, though, Jared, since you actually mentioned it, sounded like you were sort of on top of it. Can you actually earn those SV points in game, or do you actually have to purchase it with money?
I'm gonna be honest. I've heard about the microtransaction bit. I don't know whether you purchase it in game. So
I wasn't sure if the SV currency was something you could earn in game, or it had to be only purchasable by real money. So
I'm not entirely sure about that.
So Brett. Have you come across this one? Have you heard about it?
No, I wasn't. I'm just. I sound a bit quiet, but I'm just in shock that they're actually doing that.
So I want to take a stab at this. So if you were to purchase a save slot for an additional character from the base game that you've already paid $40 for, so what's that going to be? $210 for us. So what, $60 or something Australian?
Yep.
What would you expect a save slot to cost?
Well, I would expect to have, at least 4 included. So I wouldn't. If you ask me what I expect, I'm already just like, it's sort of so far out of my comfort zone already. Where I'd say I probably wouldn't even buy the game based on that.
Very cool.
I don't know. Have $5? That's a guess.
I wouldn't. I mean, like, don't we all remember the days of like the old games where they gave us 3 save slots for free, and that was just it, and we didn't have to think about that? Like, I mean, it's not as if it's adding any extra value. It's literally just meaning that you could have like your sibling play the game, or like you can have a friend play the game over at your place without using your stuff.
But it's kind of stuff that you just expect to be included. I mean, how far are they going to push this? Soon it's going to be like, oh, do you want to change the graphics options? Well, that'll be $2. Oh, do you want to like reassign your keys? That's $3.50. Like, just how far will they actually take this? Like, crazy.
To be fair, I do remember the sort of early days of the PlayStation and console. I say console, but the PlayStation era, and you had to buy memory cards just to save your bloody game.
Yes, but those were like across all games. Like and
that was like a hardware limitation as well. Like it sort of required that. Like that made sense. It wasn't something that they could just tick a box on and have it work. That's actually something that was required.
Yeah, this is an arbitrary limitation.
Yes. Ooh. I think you were talking there. We lost you a little bit there. So the last thing you're saying, if you're back there, Jared, is it was an arbitrary, and that's as far as we got. All right, so we got Jared back there. Lost you for sort of a second there, but we caught you halfway saying arbitrary, and then that's when we lost you.
Arbitrary limitation, yep. So it's like an arbitrary limitation that has no other reason other than business sort of.
Yeah. So exactly. Like I said, I know there's like the whole, when I sort of made the comment about the the memory cards from back in the day. Like you said, that was a necessity. Where this is just this is piss off.
Yeah.
But look, so going back to when I sort of the original thing there, Brett, when I was asking about it, you said $5 for this late save slot.
You would willing to drop money on this?
You would be wrong. You would not be $5. It would actually be $10 for an additional save slot.
Just for one?
Just for one. Just for one. Because what you've actually got is with the, like I said, the SV currency is you can actually buy them in batches. So like, for 100 it's 99 cents, all the way up to 6,000 SV coins, which will cost you like $50.
It's not like a $100 microtransaction.
No, it's not. It's like basically $50 is the most that you'll sort of pay. But you know what's also really annoying is that you need 1,000 SV coins which will get you your save enough for you to purchase unlock your save slot. But there's no microtransaction purchase that will get you the 1,000 SV coins. You've basically got either 99 cents. Or I think there was like a middle ground, like a mid-range, where it's like you'll get 550 SV coins or something for like, $7. And then there's like 1,150 coins for $10. So there's no like, if I just want to purchase 1,000 for this particular thing, it's like, no, it's either you get less or you get more. And it's just like, really stupid. Anyway,
is the sort of argument for this is like with the save slots is that they're sort of, I guess they could say they're trying to stop account sharing in a way. So it's like you buy the game, you just have your one character, and if your mates want to come and use it, it's like we're still going to get money out of you, and you're not going to be able to do that now.
I guess it's like the season pass thing all over again, but except then season passes sort of became more geared towards DLC. Like you used to have to pay for online. Like online play was this code you got when you purchased the original game, and even if you sold like the disc off, they couldn't play online unless they bought another one of those codes.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's one thing I think to pay for DLC where you're getting extra content for what you've purchased, and I don't think save slots are extra content. That's just, I think it's a little bit ridiculous.
But they aren't. It's a text. It's literally a text file. You are saving. You are paying $10 to have an additional text file.
Yeah. I mean, I say but I'm just totally agreeing because I have no idea how files work.
Oh, like
but I totally.
I mean, like everything in its barest form is a text file.
Well, yeah, no, I'm sure it's like, it's probably the most simplest thing just to add in a save slot versus here's a whole new expansion.
Yeah, it's not content.
Extra stuff.
Yeah, it's not content, and they've already got the system there to use it. It's not. Yeah, they're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. So anyway, but look,
so how much do you charge for your save slots in your new game, Jared?
Well,
maybe $7 each.
So first you have to get to the save slots. First you have to buy the day one DLC, then you have to open a loot box, and the loot box is a chance at a save slot.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
But it's like a legendary. It's a legendary. You get it through. You have to get the legendary tier.
Yeah, so it'll take you quite a few loot boxes.
Yeah. We're going a bit meta and a few layers deep here, and hopefully that gets us enough press that we like sell $1 million and can become Konami too.
Right. Okay, maybe that makes sense. That's sounds like a solid business plan you got there.
I know. Go.
No, I was just saying, does your day one DLC come with a day one update and patch?
Oh no, we're not patching it until like 4 days after. No. It's fine. Right, you won't be able to play. You won't be able to play the game for at least the first hour.
So, Jared, I guess from a developer's perspective on microtransactions, where do you sit in games having them in terms of we have, I guess, very much the perspective as the consumer, and it's like we see, look, we've already paid you $89 for your game. Why should I be paying more? I'm of the opinion it really depends on what it is I'm actually. What the actual purchase is for, but where do you stand from a developer's perspective on the microtransaction topic?
I'm kind of with you there because growing up, I played Nintendo 64 games where you didn't even there was like no DLC. It's like if the game was garbage, that was it, right? You didn't even get an update. My thoughts are it really depends on what it's giving you. If microtransactions are giving you a actual value and something you enjoy in the game, then cool. If you're like this is my thought. Like in China for Overwatch, you are not allowed to straight up sell loot boxes. So for Overwatch in China, they sell when you buy the microtransactions, you are buying in-game currency, and then they give you the loot boxes on top of that in-game currency. Which means that if you want to purchase a skin, you purchase enough in-game currency to buy that skin directly, which I think is much better than the model they use everywhere else where they're allowed to do what they want, which shows you there is a better way to do it than what a lot of these publishers are choosing to do.
So do you say, it's China there, you said, for Overwatch?
Yeah, China.
So you're not necessarily purchasing the loot box. You're actually purchasing currency. So you still get something tangible out of it than just the chance of something. So
that's right.
Okay, that is different.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got some concerns because I know people who have come off of like straight up substance addictions, and they say that Overwatch's loot box system plays to that, and that's what I really worry about. That's another thing I worry about, is that kind of actual addiction mechanics that it throws in. Vermintide used to have this, the original one, number one, had a Skinner box thing where it was just, well, that's what the technical term for, you go through and you open up a loot box, and that is like a Skinner box. And it keeps you playing and keeps you looped in. And Vermintide had this Skinner box where, you, at the end of each game, you'd roll some dice and get whatever garbage loot that you happen to roll for. And it's the same with Overwatch's loot boxes, is that you just get things that you had before, no matter how many times they say they're changing the code, it's never, you always still get the same stuff. And then you throw money at it, then you drop $60 on it, and then you don't get anything of the event skins that you paid the $60 for. And then you have other companies trying to copy what Overwatch did, because Overwatch did that addiction mechanic so well. And then you have like Vermintide 2, which has taken that approach. Like, hopefully they don't add microtransaction for loot boxes, though. Who knows what they're going to do?
It's pretty immoral, really, if that's what they're targeting, that sort of that addiction type mechanic, the dopamine hit. I was reading a couple of articles about it today, and there's a guy, Australian guy, I'm pretty sure, and he'd blown like 50 grand on loot boxes. Because he's just like full on it. He just can't stop. Like, so it's just it's the same as a drug addiction, and
it really is. And they use the same mechanics as a slot machine. It literally uses the same. You've got this, like, the loop of, you clicking the open button, so that's like it spinning, and then there's that suspense while you don't know what's going on, and then there's kind of the shaking is like equivalent to the everything's stopping, and then it throws everything up, and then it's like, all the flashing on the screen, and then it comes down, and you got nothing. And even though you got nothing, the flashing triggers all
still exciting to see, and it's like, whoa, sparkle, wee, and it's all exciting, colourful, and lively. That's like, let me look at that again. Here's more money.
That's essentially what happens. And when young kids get into it, it works on them. Like, it works on kids. So
at least it keeps the kids off the streets.
I mean, yes, but it's like,
I'm not promoting.
I mean,
what we're doing is trading. Parents, they get their parents' credit card and blow all their money, and they get evicted, and they're homeless.
Yeah, we're just adding and changing one addiction for another.
Yeah. But look, at least they're funding the company that I really enjoyed, and if they keep making games for me, I'm happy. So
is this like if Blizzard's doing it, it's fine?
Yeah, pretty much.
If it was EA, it's like, they should all die, be put to death.
On a side note, can I just ask Blizzard to stop trying to push Heroes of the Storm? I don't enjoy that game. I don't want to play that game. I haven't met a single person who wants to play that game. They just want the skins. Give them the skins.
Well, they keep pushing it? In what way? Like, I didn't see a lot of advertising for it.
I know. So, Last year they did a bunch of events where if you wanted this like Genji skin, you had to play like 15 games of Heroes of the Storm, or this Diva Cop skin where you had to play like 2 games every day for like 2 weeks. And me and my friends, even though we were playing Overwatch like every single night and we loved them, we were just like, after grinding for that Genji skin, we were like, no way, no more of this. This is awful.
But at least Heroes of the Storm is free. And
I mean, yeah,
it's like, at least it's sort of like, it's quite easy for them to plug and trying to get people in, because it is a free game that you can just download off their launcher and away you go.
Yeah.
So
at this point, Overwatch should be free as well, with how much they've made with how much their microtransactions are in it. It's and I think that's where a lot of people's problems with this lied. If all these games that have these like loot boxy microtransactions in them were free to play, like people would be like, oh, well, that's how they're making their money off of this. It's still not good, but
I actually remember reading I remember reading an article quite a while ago when microtransactions started to sort of appear and started to gain momentum, that I think there was like a research done or some sort of news article basically outlining that companies that veered away from paying for the game and actually promoted a free-to-play game with microtransactions ended up making more money off the microtransactions than they ever would based off the base game if they didn't have the microtransactions. So I think
absolutely.
so you say, like, if maybe there are games that if you're going to introduce microtransactions, make your game free, because there's actually, you probably find you'll get more incentive for people, because there's probably some games I see that I kind of go, it seems interesting, but I'm not paying $30-$40 for it. It doesn't interest me. But then if they go, it's free, then I might be like, oh, that's the right price, and actually realize, oh, it's actually a pretty fun game. I've enjoyed my time. So I don't actually mind paying for microtransactions if I feel I've got my money's worth out of it.
Yeah. Like if
hours and hours of time into it.
If you straight up enjoyed the game and it's a free to play game, I know people who bought stuff in games that were free to play, just like, I want to support the developers here, have something, but you also have, like, because you've got that publisher part in it, like for EA, right? They've got their numbers they want to meet.
Yep.
So, and EA aren't adverse to money. Let's be real. Like, I don't know a business that is adverse to money.
It's understatement of the century, for sure.
Yeah. $100 for $100 for your game, and then all your loot boxes, and
it's interesting with like Battlefront 2. How much they've discounted the game by. I think you can get it for like $30 or something now. They just making it cheaper.
Yeah, I think they had to, because on launch, the only reason they pulled loot boxes from that game was because Disney called them up and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop this!" Because Disney's shares actually went down because of EA and Battlefront. And
I guess that's also
Star Wars a bad sort of reputation in a way, or attaching that sort of bad feeling to the Star Wars franchise, which they can't have.
That too, and yeah.
Do you think the community sort of uproar that sort of occurred because of the Battlefront 2 microtransaction situation, that, do you sort of think that has actually played a part in what Disney has done in terms of screw you, EA, this is, we've lost money because of it, which they did. I mean, I think they lost. It was either they were down $1 million+ in their expected revenue, or they didn't sell 1 million units. It was 1 million units. I think they're expecting to sell 8 million units, and they still sold 7 million or something like that. But do you think the community had a part to play in that?
Absolutely. Like, people forget, despite everything, game development is still a business, and if your customers don't want it, they're gonna. If your customers don't want it, they're gonna complain. It's the internet. People are going to complain. You can do it. You can do anything, and people will find something that you know.
Well, at the end of the day, that's the only real way to fight microtransactions. They don't care. You can complain and write on message boards how shitty it is as much as you want, but the only way to actually stop it is by not actually buying the game, and that's with Battlefront. That's actually what happened. A lot of people just didn't buy it. They're just too fed up.
And
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and there's a few excuses that have kind of been thrown around for it, but EA at the same time has said that losing microtransactions isn't going to affect their earnings. They've said, they've basically reaffirmed that all the microtransaction was in there for was to get them more money, and when those predatory techniques get used on people who are whales and they just and kids who throw money that they shouldn't and don't actually have onto these things, it's just concerning for me personally, at least.
I think, the biggest thing, because every game has microtransactions now, and like I said, I don't have issues with microtransactions, but as long as they're not breaking the game, and I think that's really where
every game have microtransactions.
I think a lot of them tend to.
Say every.
Well, no, did I say every? A lot of them.
A lot of and you're right. Like, a lot of them do, and that's that's because, it became a proven model. I know some people complain that Assassin's Creed Origins had microtransactions in it, but the microtransactions are literally either costumes that are like so out of place. Like if you want your horse to be a chocobo, like,
really?
I mean,
is that a thing?
Yes, you can. Yeah. If you want your thing to be a chocobo, you can pay the $5 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can do that. And that's cool. They have other DLC they have other like in-game stuff that you can buy. It's kind of stupid, but I don't think that it's stuff you can get easily in game, right? It's not. It's not.
Well, yeah, I do play that game, and I haven't found the microtransactions to be sort of too much of an issue. You just see a couple of ridiculous items, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And that I found that in that case, I couldn't care less.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Cosmetic-y type stuff, really.
Yeah, and you're not just purchasing an in-game currency to then purchase things with. It's just kind of. Oh, I think it is, but it's not really that bad a value in terms of the ink.
Well, it doesn't detract from the main game. Like that's the thing. Like, you're playing. You're not like, I'm missing out because I'm not buying these loot boxes or buying.
That's right.
Buying the microtransactions. Whereas with Battlefront, that was an example where you do miss out if you don't buy them. So I think that's the main distinction between the two.
And companies like EA, I forget which company did it. They actually have patented systems to try and guide people towards microtransactions in multiplayer, these sorts of multiplayer games.
Activision.
Yes. We talked about that.
We talked about that on one of our episodes.
That's
dodgy.
That's so dodgy. And then you have like these companies also they don't even view themselves as game developers anymore or game publishers. They're like, what is it? Ubisoft is like, we now make live services, and it's like that is not what any of your customers call what you make.
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah. It's interesting time that we're leading into, or continued. We're already led into. It just depends if we're going to want to continue with it. Look, are you a PUBG guy?
I'm not a PUBG, but I don't play PUBG, but I love watching streams of people, like friends playing it, because it's always kind of cool. I'm awful at any sort of shooter. Like, I'm a Junkrat main in Overwatch. I'm sorry to anyone who values. Yeah, I'm a Junkrat, and I am.
I'm a Hanzo or a Genji. That's what I am. Not a. No.
Oh wow!
I like a bit of take a bit of effort and skill. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
So you mentioned there before you're a bit on the rubbish side of the first person shooter. So that sounds like you and Brett have something in common.
Couldn't help himself. He hasn't insulted me. You made it half an hour, Chris, without throwing a jab.
I know. Throw a bit of shade. I mean, look, Brett is a bit of a PUBG player. Have you tried Fortnite at all?
No, I haven't tried Fortnite. I haven't tried Fortnite either. I've seen a lot of good reviews, but it doesn't seem like it's going to have the same kind of push that PUBG is kind of got. It's kind of a bit goofier in terms of like the
and it's just like a kind of it feels like a kids version of PUBG, and it doesn't have the main thing that sort of bothered me with it is that it doesn't have all the different customizations for all the guns and stuff. Like if you just pick up a gun, that's your gun. Like you don't have all the scopes and silencers and extended mags and all that sort of stuff, which kind of to me make PUBG more interesting because it throws so many variables in there. They do have the base building, which is pretty cool on Fortnite. So you do end up with these really interesting situations towards the end where these people just putting all these ridiculous bases together. And
like they've built a base in the sky, but if you destroy the wrong part of it, like the whole base comes down and you've just basically been... My other problem is with Fortnite is just Epic's approach to just like... We all know cheaters suck, right? Like, what do you really get out of cheating? But they're like putting a 14-year-old's name out there as a cheater and just basically revealing his name publicly in a lawsuit, which
really
they would Epic was suing a 14-year-old kid for cheating, right? And while that's like cheaters suck,
I really hate cheaters. It's very hard to have sympathy.
No, but they were launching a like a $50,000 lawsuit
That's probably
against
a
a
little bit
kid.
extreme.
Yeah. Like you're not going to get anything. It's like if you're caught cheating, ban them. That's fine. That's cool. Ban the kid. But like taking them to court, really?
It just sounds like they're trying to make an example of an easy target.
I know, and it just happened that easy target was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, that is one area where Fortnite does have a big advantage over PUBG is the cheating element, because PUBG, it is still a massive problem. I find probably 1 out of 3 games I'll get killed by a hacker, which is just super annoying, especially like when you get towards the end. You invest 20, 25 minutes in a game and, some guy just teleports and headshots you or, whatever. And it's just really, it makes sometimes, like I've had a few times where I'm not playing this anymore because it's just, you get sort of super upset about it.
That's and I completely understand that. I completely understand hating cheaters, but
they're doing a couple of things. They're working on some anti-cheat measures at the moment, which is hopefully going to be pooling similar ping players together. So what that will hopefully do is, if you've got all your players in Australia, it sort of means in theory that the higher ping players, and most of the hackers seem to come from China, it'll actually exclude them from being able to play in the same servers as someone with a low ping. So I'm kind of interested to see how that works, and I think that'll be quite good. But remember BattleEye saying in February they'd banned another 1.5 million players or something just in February. I mean, they're just banning them constantly. But the problem is, the thing is, like with PUBG, is because the BP and loot crates are worth money on the Steam market, there's actually a financial incentive for people to hack. So they're not doing it because they just, they want to win and, like it's stuff. They make money out of it. So the problem is they'll do it for like a month or, 2 weeks and they get banned and they just go and buy a new account because it only costs $20 or $30. And, rinse and repeat, but they're making a profit. So that's the problem.
And meanwhile, PUBG gets another round of $1 million plus $20, $30
Well, exactly. So the hackers get money and then Bluehole make a heap of money because they keep rebuying the account. So it's sort of, I guess that's why they're dragging their heels.
Seems a little convenient.
But I know they have dropped, the amount of players who play it has dropped a bit in the last month. So, because people are getting fed up with the hackers, I assume. So maybe that'll make them do something a bit more.
And it's like, if, as games have a life cycle where, you have your mass of players and at the start and it slowly trickles off, and then some of that might be people who put like 400 hours into PUBG already and I'm like, I'm kind of done here.
You said before, Jared, there that you enjoy watching other people with the PUBG. Are you a YouTube watcher or a Twitch watcher, or both?
I do both sometimes. Like when I'm working, sometimes it's cool to throw up like a stream just running there, and sometimes I just put up YouTube videos and they just play while I'm working in the background. So I don't really have to watch, but I can get the gist of what's going on from them talking, and it's kind of, I guess, simulates being in an office with people having fun.
No, because I know like Brett, the conversations that we've had in the past, you don't really watch other sort of YouTube videos or Twitch. His view is, why would I watch when I could just play it myself? And it's definitely, it's an interesting sort of model and sort of direction that the gaming industry is now going. But I think because of things like Twitch, it's actually generated a lot of sort of, I guess you could say, employment across the globe for loads of people. But what sort of draws you into that type of media? So like, it's really cool sometimes, like the personalities of the people are just like, they're interesting people to listen to. One of my ones that I like watching and videos from is Northern Lion, Canadian man. He did a lot of reviews for roguelikes because I play a lot of roguelites, and he reviews them. But he also does let's plays of other games as well. He's doing one on Bloodborne at the moment. That's really cool. And he does streams PUBG as well with a couple of his other friends, and listening to their banter sometimes is just, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sometimes it's like a podcast. It's essentially a podcast, but they're playing PUBG instead of talking.
Yeah.
Just straight up talking.
Cool. So, I mean, with PUBG also, Brett, because you do play it a little bit. Tell us about the new map. I haven't touched or I haven't played the game since the new map has actually been released. So, how's the new map? How does it compare to the original one?
I don't like it as much, to be honest. And there seems to be it's sort of more spread out and open, so it becomes a bit of a snipe fest because you got the sort of it's just like a big open desert, and if you're running around in the open, you can generally just get picked off. So, and what I do find as well, it seems to, when you play, it seems to come up like you just keep getting into that map every time. Like you can't choose which map you want to be, and it's like so you just sometimes you'll like get 4 games in a row where it's just that map, and that might be your whole night's gaming, so you don't even get to get into the other. It's pretty irritating.
That is actually pretty gross. I'm gonna say that feels, but at the same time, I can see like they've probably done that to kind of funnel people into playing the new map.
Yeah,
like if you don't have a choice on what map you play, you kind of are just like, no one can say, it's like no one's in this server. Where is everyone?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, I'd like to see it balance out a bit better. So it's like one for one. That's what I'd like to see. Like, I don't mind playing that map, but just don't put me in it 4 times in a row.
But I guess probably with the difficult thing be from the allocation point of view, like you say, if it's like 1 for 1, it's like, but it's 1 for 1 for the other 98 people as well that you're sort of playing with. Or I mean, maybe the system should be smart enough to go, which 99 people played.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like there's a limited amount of people and they need to fill it up. Like it's like 3 million people playing at the same time. I'm sure they can find.
Surely you can find another 98 people that haven't done that.
Yeah, just sort of diversify it.
Yeah.
They are actually.
I guess that.
I was just going to say there is actually a new another new map going to be revealed next month, and which will be released in I think July. But there's not really anything known about it at the moment. It's just there's going to be a new map. That's it.
In my mind, as just a designer, to me, it seems like if someone had like an option in like the options menu and they were like, alternate maps, that way, if you're going to play on the same map, it only sends you to the same map twice in a row before it'll send you to the other one.
Like, something in there too.
So, like, you're not stuck. You're not always stuck on the one map for like every single game all night.
Yeah,
because that sucks.
I mean, particularly now that if you got the choice of 2 and hopefully potentially 3, then you want to have that sort of choice. Cool. So, Jared, you Shadowplay Projection.
Yes.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about Shadowplay Studios, what you do. But let's start with yourself. What is it you do at Shadowplay, and then tell us about Projection.
Okay, I am the story designer, writer, and level sort of designer on Projection. I'm like the only full-time member of the team. The rest are all kind of how they have their day jobs and they come back to it in the evenings.
Mm-hmm. How big's your team? How many of you are there?
So we have 2 designers, 2 programmers, and 1 artist. Plus, we have a few like external audio people we're using as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're kind of like contract basis.
Mm-hmm.
So
so there's a few,
and there is a few. It's not one of those all-in-one indie teams where one person's handling everything.
Yeah, that's good.
But does that mean you're saying they got jobs and stuff? So day to day, you're there on your own doing your thing, and then you sort of get stuff from them remotely, or do they come to?
I work from my bedroom, so I wake up when I feel like it, which is generally very early, despite everything.
Yep.
and I just like turn on my computer, do any pulls. So like, okay, there's like the artist has put on some more stuff. The designer's added a few more puzzles that he'd like in the game. Programmers fix bugs. I pull that, and then I work around. Like, I take what they've used and created and try and all piece that together. And if I find there's any other bugs, I write up reports, put them out there, and it's just kind of, that's my day to day. Finally, people think like game dev is like this huge like party where it's like really just like a lot of it's just like, oh my goodness, why isn't this working?
Fixing bugs and stuff.
People like, I'm just going to say this right now. Like when you start develop like in game dev, like studying it, people are like, oh, you're going to be like this. But when the reality of the situation is, it's just like, those really boring things where you see people like clicking and they click again.
That's not what was on that TV show. That's not how it works. Oh, yeah. No.
It's essentially, it becomes like any other job.
Yeah.
and it's like, it's honestly, it's great because I love working on it, but it is
working from home. Yeah. I actually do that as well. So I can kind of relate. I run a website where I make my money. So I go in much detail, but it's like, so I'm, it's like sometimes it's like 11 o'clock and you haven't put pants on. It's like, this is, it's just like it has its advantages. At the same time, you can go a bit crazy being there, on your own all day. Podcasts are pretty much what gets me through, but definitely wouldn't trade it for a full-time job any day. But
so I find me and a few other my other friends who also kind of work from home. Even though we're not working on the same project, we have this like Discord server where we all just kind of hang out. And so it's like having an office and we don't have to talk, but it's kind of like, it kind of gives you that, I'm not alone. I'm not working alone in my bedroom.
The person's online, and it's like we live in an online world now. So like you're kind of you're there. I can see you're online, so that makes me feel a little bit less lonely.
We all do that. Us Control and Record guys, we all just sit there and chat on Facebook all day and probably, get distracted from work constantly.
Yeah.
But
100%. 100%.
Talking crap on there, so it's good.
I mean, if talking on Facebook isn't work, what is?
Not a whole lot. So with projection,
back to projection.
So we kind of briefly touched on it at the beginning of the show about what it is. You gave us a very sort of brief overview, but let's go into a bit more detail about what if people wanted to check it out, what can they expect? So you're using light manipulation to go through the game. So tell us about that and how that gameplay mechanic works.
Okay, so you have this light you control, and the light throws shadows, but we also use it we can use those shadows to platform across, but we also use those things to, like, if you want to push stuff, or there's some few other mechanics that come on later in the game that use the light in a bit of a different sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's sort of like what you're actually doing. You've got like you said, there's the light source, and you actually have to position the light source behind, certain structures, and then what those structures do is emit the shadow, and then the shadow is what you would actually go and walk on to try and get over. Yeah,
that's the like minute to minute kind of play, and then ultimately though what projection is a series of traditional shadow puppet stories as well.
Mm-hmm.
So these are ones that would be told to kids. We have one that's set in Indonesia, one that's set in China, one that's set in Turkey, and one that's set in England. And each of those is kind of more traditional stories that would have been told with shadow puppets, or like an interesting sort of spin on them.
Mm.
And
so where do the stories... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no. What was your question?
I was going to say, so where do the stories come from? Where are you getting these? Are they sort of written by yourselves? Or when you say they're shadow puppet stories, these are actually like maybe stories that, when you say kids, are these like bedtime stories that you're actually trying to sort of tell?
No, these are stories that were actually traditionally shown as shadow puppets. Like our artist is Indonesian, and his parents experienced these shadow puppet stories as kids. Like they were, they'd be performed. Like
so when you're like, you go down to I guess you're trying to envisage, you watch like there's a movie or whatever, then they incorporate at a children's party, there's a little bit of a theater and a stage, and there's all the okay, all right, so there's sort of stories coming from there.
We're kind of invoking that and trying to make it this really sort of classical feel. And the artist and the other designer who came up with the concept for projection, they would talk, like they'd talk to their families about this as well, and talk to, people who experienced that. One day, we took a drive to the other side of the city, and do you know how Play School used to have the shadow puppet little segments in them as well? Do you remember Play School?
I do.
Play School. I don't remember.
I don't remember the shadow puppets.
Okay. So they had every so often they had little shadow puppet segments, and we went and met the 60-year-old man who did them for the ABC back in the day.
Oh wow.
And he showed us how, he actually showed our artists how to make a shadow puppet mechanically.
Yep.
So a lot of the animation is done like that. So
that's like
basically
all the joint movements of the limbs of the puppet. Yep. Cool.
Yeah. So projection is us kind of invoking all this kind of traditional things, traditional cultural things as well, and the medium of shadow puppets into a game, and trying to hold that as much as possible.
Yeah.
I will. So for the Turkish one, I actually had to sit down and write an entire an entire play for myself, because traditional Turkish shadow puppetry isn't written like the others are. It is kind of a structure. So they have you have this fool and a really smart guy, and this fool has all these get rich quick schemes, and and the smart guy is basically the foil to those get rich quick schemes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this, I don't know, I've gone off on a tangent.
No, totally fine.
That's cool. But yeah, that's what we're invoking is just all this stuff.
So how long have you guys been working on projection for? It's like I said, I've now caught up with you twice now down at the in Sydney at the sort of the monthly catch-ups that IGDA run. And I've played it a couple of times now, which is like I said, and each time I've sort of played it, it definitely seems very polished. And how long have you been working on the game for at this point?
So the game itself has been in development for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Getting on towards 3.
Yep.
And I joined about 4 months ago.
Yep.
Just as full time. I helped out with a few bits and bobs really early on, but then kind of hadn't been a part of it for a couple of years, because I have my own projects going on as well, and I had my own full time job that was not game related, and then they're like, "Hey, we need someone to come on, and we can pay you." And I was like, "Yay!" So I'm trying to get this game done as soon as I possibly can.
Of course. So, how far along are you, and how much longer are you sort of expecting that it's going to take before you guys feel as ready to go? That's a
hard question, Chris.
Yeah, that's how long. Yeah. And it's I think it'll be out by the kind of, I'm thinking the start of next year. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what, because I'm not actually in charge of that part of it.
Fair enough. Like anything in development, if games such as big blockbusters like Star Citizen tell us anything, fuck knows when these things are going to come out, basically. So no, totally.
I wasn't sure. Star Citizen though, because that game won't be out for 30 years.
Hey, how do they keep making money to sustain development on that thing?
Well, let me tell you. So
it's called
this is where
for some reason.
A reason,
yeah.
No. So myself and one of our other hosts, Grax, we're very big into Star Citizen at the moment, and have spent money on it already. So at the moment, it's raised $179 million now. And it just keeps making money because they keep bringing out new things, essentially. But
Okay.
This is your time. This isn't Star Citizen.
Okay.
time.
Let's mention how much Grax has spent on the game.
He's surpassed $1,000. Sorry, Grax. I don't know if you want me to tell if you're listening.
His player actually has a monocle in the game.
Because he's
nice.
Because he's spent a lot.
He's so rich. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not him. I think I've spent about $400 now so far. So not quite his level. But sorry, Grax, when you're listening to this, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say that, but cool.
Now.
Yeah.
Project
and I'm not cutting it out.
Projection itself can't quite sustain itself on monocles, so we have to get it out there soon.
Yeah. So you were also, I believe, recently at RTX Sydney for 2018.
Yes.
How did that go? I saw that on your Twitter page that you were there. How's your experience?
Yeah, so I turned up and was told I was getting on stage in 15 minutes.
Nice. Awesome.
And I after a little bit of freaking out, I went up there and had a lot of fun pitting two teams of people against each other and watching them kind of fight to the death, and people reaching out and pulling out controllers and turning off computers and throwing T-shirts into the crowd. That was fun.
Oh, okay. All right. Any sort of Shadowplay branded T-shirts? Is that what you were getting out there, or just random RTX T-shirts?
Yeah. No. They were projection T-shirts. They were like,
cool.
yeah.
Nice.
I wanted to throw pins out into the crowd, but maybe that wasn't a good idea, throwing hard objects at people.
Could end pretty badly, potentially.
Yeah.
Good job, you probably didn't. Good choice. So I mean, how long were you up on stage for? I mean, what was that experience like to be up in front of a whole bunch of people?
It's kind of nerve-wracking until you're there.
Yeah.
And then but when you kind of like have these two teams of people and they're like, what do I do here?
Yep.
And also trying to fight each other, so they're kind of working as fast. You kind of almost forget the crowd is there, and you kind of just roll with it.
Yep. Going from then RTX to now later on in the year, PAX. Can anyone expect to see Shadowplay at PAX, or even if not, are you guys just going to go? Is your team going to go visit PAX just to be guests? Can we? Because we're hoping to be there. Yeah. So hopefully we see you guys there.
Okay, so I don't know if we're at PAX Australia, but we are at PAX East in the first week in April. So I think that's the 4th. We are actually going to, it's the 5th of April through to the 8th in Boston, Massachusetts.
Really?
We are going over there for the big, their PAX is 4 days, by the way. So, if you thought 3 days was a hard, time to just stand up and walk around and see everything, I wonder how big this one's going to be.
Oh, I'd imagine it'd be a little bit bigger, Boston compared to Sydney.
Yeah.
So are you going as just guests, or are you actually just showing off?
No, we're actually showing.
Oh, wow. That's so cool to actually get.
I know. We're in their indie mega booth thing. I've never been in.
That's going to get you.
Had anything kind of go.
Really good, solid exposure for you. So yeah. Oh, congratulations that you've been able to take that opportunity to head over to Boston. I mean, hey, anyone in Sydney, if you're going to be there you go. Go check.
Yeah. Come say hello. We can all commiserate on how there's no chicken salt in the country.
Really, that's a thing.
Yeah. Chicken salt is an Australian thing. You can't get that in the States.
Oh, it is too. I was in the States not that long ago, really, and I didn't even notice that there was no chicken salt. Wow. I'm so observant.
Yeah. I don't ask me why I've latched onto chicken salt.
It's the best thing ever. That's why.
It's good.
Chicken salt's amazing. It's pretty amazing. See, like I said, we talk about anything and everything on this show. So chicken salt is, whatever. Chicken salt. Anyway, so what's next? So when, have you guys got any thoughts or discussions around once you do eventually get to a point where you release projection to the public, where can people hope to expect to find you?
So we are releasing on literally all major platforms. We have a PS4 release, an Xbox One, a Switch, and all of Steam.
Wow. Oh, geez, got all the bases covered. Look at you guys. Look at you guys getting all the consoles, getting across to Boston.
Yeah.
Doing some really well.
I tell you now, I played it on a Switch, and it is a lot of fun. And like people were like, "Can there be a multiplayer mode?" And like on the Switch, 100%.
Wow.
Because you can just hand someone the Joy-Con, and they can. It's like that's so great.
Yeah. So there's with the multiplayer side of it. How does that work? Is it sort of like you've got two puppets on the screen? How is that going to work?
No. So multiplayer would just be. So you ever play Super Mario Galaxy?
No, not Galaxy. I did.
Favorite games ever.
No, that's cool. Galaxy is a second player where they basically just use the Wii remote to move things on the screen and attack other things and defend the player. It's kind of a very passive kind of second player.
Right. Okay.
And what it means was the first player would move the character Greta, and the second player would just move the light.
Yep. Okay. So there's a bit of coordination involved.
Yeah. Mario Odyssey had has a thing like that as well, where you can be the hat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like a single player game, but you can both of you can still play it.
Yeah, that's that. I think this game, like the Switch itself, is really cool for that kind of just like it's not really multiplayer, but it kind of is.
Yeah. Oh, it's still got that teamwork element involved. You're not going to have the two players on the screen, but that's still cool.
That's it.
Cool. So tell us about your social media. If people want to know more about, you guys, what's all your Facebook, what's your Twitter, all that stuff? Plug yourself.
Okay. Our Facebook is Shadowplay Studios. On the Tweeters, we are at Shadowplay, STD. It's very unfortunate. Yes. And you can find us online on our own website, shadowplaystudios.com.
Cool.
Just on the Facebook one, I see you've got Projection Game as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. For that, I think we also have Projection Game.
Okay.
I don't really have that bit of the social media.
Yeah, I'm just checking things on your webpage. Checking it's all in order.
Yep, it is at Projection Game on Facebook. Okay, cool. I've learned something tonight.
I wasn't trying to correct you on your own game.
I don't care. It's cool.
There's all those people who be going, this doesn't even work. It's like,
Brett, do you have any questions for yourself for Jared?
I did want to ask, do you have like a sort of inspiration, obviously all the stories and stuff, but the actual style of the game and the way, do you have any sort of inspirations you've drawn from?
Story-wise.
Does it sort of play like anything else out there, or is it totally original?
So there is a few games that it keeps getting connected to. There were in terms of mechanics, but it isn't the same. And I forget the name, but it's this obscure PS3 exclusive that was like kind of a platformer where you jump into the shadows itself, but you were jumping in and out of that. But the actual inspiration from the game came when the other designer, Michael, was walking around his house, and there's one lamp that casts particularly hard shadows, and he was like, I wonder if I can make a game of this.
I thought you were to say, I thought he tried to walk on it or something, but hey.
No. He thought, maybe I can make a game about this. And then I ran an event. So I ran a game jam, which for those who don't know is where a bunch of people get together in 48 hours and imitate all of the worst industry practices and stress themselves out and make themselves really tired for the next week, but have a lot of fun doing it. Make a game in 48 hours and
just like all loot boxes, like everything.
Actually, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, no. It was just like it's like the worst kind of loot box.
Actually, I've with that 48-hour game jam, the last time, just a sort of funny moment, I didn't actually realize what the 48-hour game jam was until sort of recently. So head in the sand for me type thing. But so I was at one of the IGDA event, and that was where they were sort of promoting. I think you might have been there yourself, where they were giving out all the stickers to everyone that hey, I'm a programmer, I'm sound, I'm this, I'm that, or the other. So because for anyone that's not listening with the 48-hour game jam. You get a team of people, and you got 48 hours to make a game from nothing to whatever you can make. And so there were some people that went to this event that maybe didn't have a group, so they were actually, if you were solo or only had two of you, you could actually go along and have a look at what people's stickers were to say, like, if I was in coding and Brett, you were programming, I'd be like, hey, I need a programmer. Do you want to join me? And we'll do this thing that's coming up on the weekend. And that's what happened. And I didn't realize what that was. And then the organizer came over, and there was me and one other guy that were just talking about the whole whatever gaming stuff we're talking about. And he's like, what are you guys? And I was like, oh, what? He's like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do podcasts. And he's like, I'm just going to give you a sticker so you feel included. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So he gave me one saying, looking for group. And I was like, all right, cool. I had no idea what it represented. And some random guy comes up to me and he's like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, I podcast. And he's like, oh, so do you do any game design? I was like, no. He's like, do you code? I was like, no. I was like, no. He's like, and I was like, what? And he's like, so, but you're looking for a group. I'm like, I just got this sticker 20 minutes ago. I don't actually know what it means. He was like, so I was just sort of standing there so awkwardly with this guy for like 5 minutes. Had no idea what he was talking about. But I don't know. Anyway, one of those had to be there. Anyway, I was really dumb. And before I ever actually participated in one, I decided, you know what? I've heard of this thing. I vaguely know what it is, and so I'm going to run one. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of really interesting. Anyway, Michael, the designer, came along and he made a prototype of it then. And it was like, okay. And then the artist on the team was also at that event. And he was like, why don't we make that Shadow Puppets? And then it's kind of 3 years later, almost 3 years later. And here we are going to Boston and...
Yeah,
was there any inspiration drawn from just from looking at like the website and stuff from like Limbo and Inside? Because it kind of just looks like that for some reason to me with that dark sort of background and stuff.
It gets that because it's the black and the other stark color. Certain aspects of Limbo, we don't use Limbo as a reference because Limbo is not quite, it's not really the art style, but it is Limbo is quite well designed in terms of its art. So, if you're looking at well designed art, well designed things for inspiration, you won't go wrong. On a quick side note, if anyone's have you played Monument Valley 2? Either of you?
No, I can't say
I have played. I got the first one, I'm pretty sure, on my phone.
Yeah. So the second one, they actually decided that for the art they were going to draw inspiration from everything but games.
Oh, okay.
So one of the levels that ended up in all the video ads is like taken inspiration from 60s metal toy tins, lollipop store, like, candy stores, and Nicki Minaj music videos. And that was like their inspiration for those levels. And just so, like, if you find good art, you can pull inspiration from anything. Limbo has great art. Mm-hmm. We look at it, but it doesn't really affect our choices that much. Okay.
So other thing we're going to do with you now, Jared, is go through a quiz. So there's one thing we're trying to do with all guests that we come on. So there's going to be 10 questions. You're going to have, I'm basically going to say two things, this, A or B. And what we're looking for is, what's the first thing that comes to your head in terms of, are you going with A or are you going with B? So for example, first one, are you a PlayStation or are you Xbox?
PlayStation.
Nice. So that's easy, isn't it? Cool. So next one.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero or Scorpion?
Ooh, Sub-Zero.
Nice. All right. This next one's the deal breaker. Well, there's 10 in total, but Sonic or Mario?
Mario.
It's never going to happen. He's waiting for someone to say Sonic, and it will never happen.
Have I betrayed you? Look, I've seen the new Sonic comic characters, and they look really cool. And once I get them into a game, then I'll reevaluate.
So I'm retro Sonic. I was introduced to the Sega before the Nintendo. That's why Sonic was mine.
Just quickly, the first Sonic game I played was Sonic Adventure, and I loved it. But can't. I have a Dreamcast. The CD reader is dead on, and I have to get replaced so I can continue to play Sonic Adventure.
Number 4,
Okay.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Nice.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars, nice. The BFG or the portal gun?
Portal gun, please.
Skyrim or Fallout?
I have to say Fallout because I haven't played Skyrim.
You haven't played Skyrim? Wow. Okay.
Yes, I know.
If you played Fallout, you pretty much played Skyrim, to be honest.
So,
just with guns.
Yeah.
On a side note, I hacks Fallout, so I've worked out how to like just up myself to like max level, so I could just like, okay, I'm gonna just play this game with a bat and not worry about anything. On the side note, and also on another side note, once Skyrim gets the multiplayer mod done, which people are working on, which is going to be sick, I'm going to get Skyrim and play it multiplayer.
I would imagine Skyrim would be fun, but I just spend most of my time stabbing Brett in the back every time he was running away.
That's what you do with Portal 2, right? The multiplayer there.
Question number 8. This could also be a complete deal breaker. So if you there's no right or wrong answers, but if you get this one wrong,
but we can't be friends if I
it's
get
like
it
you
wrong.
have to agree with Chris, or he just doesn't talk to you.
No, don't. Brett, you and I are on the same page with this one. Call of Duty or Battlefield?
Is there a third option?
No.
I don't know if there is.
Okay, well, the only one I played is Battlefield, and I hated Battlefield 1.
All right, I'm disconnecting him from the
Well, that was very nice.
And on that note...
So because our recordings have 3 separate files, for anyone listening, you may only hear 2 people talking, having random conversations with each other.
Yeah.
I know.
Would you shapeshift or have invisibility? Would you rather be
Could I shapeshift invisible?
Couldn't you just shapeshift into like something that's microscopic and therefore basically invisible?
Yeah.
You're reading way too much into this.
I'm sorry, but yeah, shapeshifting, 100%.
All right, last question. Do you prefer Taylor Swift's Shake It Off or Frozen Let It Go? You got it.
I'm gonna go let it go because I'm gonna say let it go because I've sung it at people who are just getting really mad on the internet. I've sung it to people in Overwatch.
It's just all the trolls. Look, that's it. Just 10 quick questions, bit of fun. Now, one thing also do, if you were to add an A or B type question similar to this, what could we ask future guests? What would you see as 2 options we could give people in the future when they come and join our show?
Put on the spot.
On the spot, yeah.
Oh, this is hard. Ooh.
That's fine. Maybe.
No, Battlefront 1 or Battlefront 2?
Do you mean the original Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 2?
Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 2?
Yeah, that'd be a good question. Battlefront 2 or Battlefront
Battle.
Oh no, Battlefront 2 single player or Battlefront 2 multiplayer? There you go.
Battlefront 2 single player or
Battlefront 2 multiplayer.
Multi.
Have you seen this? Have you seen the single player for Battlefront 2?
No, I haven't bought it. Are we talking about?
I watched a video.
I've seen a video of it. It looks like the absolute most boring piece.
Oh, actually, I did watch a review on it. Yeah, it's it seems pretty bad.
Yeah, it's just like, which would you rather play? The microtransaction infested non-skill section, or just the boring
single player campaign that goes for like 3 or 4 hours?
Yeah.
And which has, I think, some of the most. I mean, if you are playing it, then quick spoiler alert. Well, it's not really a spoiler alert. It's just the whole character behind the chick that you play, where there's like scenes that just don't make sense. Where it's like she's an elite empire killer. And then, you have to be pretty serious about your day job if you're at her skill level in terms of what she does and the special ops stuff that she does. And then she goes down to a planet and sees how the Empire are treating civilians. And then she's like, oh, well, this is a bit fucked. It's like, really? You didn't know that?
Just turncoat instantly.
You didn't know.
Yeah, it's
I am so. Yeah, I remember too. Someone from EA was like, no one would want a pink Darth Vader, and like the very next day, someone modded in a hot pink Darth Vader, and and people were just downloading that. People who had bought the game and you're like, I can't take this back now. At least I can have a pink Darth Vader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cool. Well, look, that's it. That is the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Our time is up. We appreciate you coming on to have a chat with us this week, Jared.
It was fun.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And look, what we'll do, best of luck when you guys head out to Boston. Please keep in touch with us. Let us know how you went. We'd love to hear back from you guys. I personally have not. We've done PAX here, but not PAX in the US. So I'd really love to hear what how things go for you. I do wish you all the success over there. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Jared.
So for everyone listening, once again, if you enjoyed the show, please jump on to iTunes or your respective Google podcast app. Give us a review, give us a rating. Also, be sure to jump on to Twitter and Facebook. Let us know how what you think of the show. And of course, go over to Shadowplay and follow them on their Twitter and Facebook pages as well. It's a very interesting game. I think a lot of people have a lot of fun with it. So well done on it. Thank you again. And for our listeners, we'll catch you in the next week.